Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a great start to your weekend. Here to give you guys some update information about what we've been talking about over the last several days. We'll first off start by speaking on what's going to happen weather-wise over the next 1 to 2 days and speaking over the next 24 hours. And like I said, getting all the way into Sunday too, because everything's kind of linking together. And of course, we will have our winter storm update kind of combined in today's forecast because it's unfolding right now. So, it's happening today, so that's going to be in today's segment of the forecast. So take advantage of those timestamps. But, as you can tell on your screen, this is in the beginning stages of happening for a lot of folks out there in the Mid-Atlantic and then eventually this afternoon into southern New England. So we'll speak on all that, and then we'll get to next week's storms. And you notice I said storms. One is definitely going to happen. We're just trying to fine-tune the forecast, try to figure out the details of it. There's another one behind that, the confidence just continues to do nothing but increase that it is going to happen also. We'll talk about both in this video. It'll be kind of sectioned out well in the timestamps so you can listen to, my thoughts on both of these storm systems. But this one coming early to midway next week is going to be very dynamic. The second one could be too. You're going to have a significant severe weather threat on the warmer side of this, a lot of rain in between. And then you're going to have that cold side of this where you're going to have the potential for a blizzard. And there's going to be winds for a lot of the country with this storm system. And then that third one could be a major winter storm also. And then we got cold air to follow. We won't get as detailed with the cold air update in this video as we did in last night's video. I got very detailed on it last night. But I want that to try to figure itself out before we start just updating you folks every 12 hours on it. I think that we need to kind of figure it out, especially if it makes its way east or not. And I think it will, but how much will it moderate? How cold will it be? We got a lot of things to figure out with the Arctic outbreak for sure, but it's happening. It's just how far east is it going to get? If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Thank you all for the almost unreal growth over the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's been wild. Picked up 2,000 subscribers in like 7 days. I mean, it's just been unreal. So thank y'all so much for the support. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it. And I promise you, thousands of other people could be praying over it too. Prayer is powerful. Take advantage of it. God is good. Put those prayer requests, even if they're just unspoken, put them in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling. What's going on out there? Sorry I'm dropping this video a little bit late, but it's just how it is on the weekends, a little bit different than the weekdays. But look at all this moisture across the eastern U.S. Let me know what you're seeing across Ohio, northern Kentucky. We spoke heavily on those areas in last night's video. A lot of light to moderate snow, just a lot of energy over the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region. But look at all the moisture beginning to make its way into the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast. You got another area of energy down here in New Mexico. A little bit of winter weather might be flying around down here. Let me know. And then here comes another system already entering the Pacific Northwest. I mean, it's already starting to chase down. It won't. But, you got one system kind of taking over the eastern U.S. and then another system beginning to take over areas of the Pacific Northwest. So this is what's going on right now. As far as an update on severe weather, we are going to have a severe weather risk. In fact, there's a line of storms entering the west coast of a little glitch there. That was weird. There's a line of storms beginning to enter the western side of Florida, the peninsula of Florida, as I speak right now. We'll speak and kind of give you some updated information on that. But there is a marginal risk of some severe weather down here. Could have a small risk of a tornado, just some gusty winds. Not a huge deal. This is nothing compared to what we could potentially see over the next few days, kind of in some of these same similar regions. But folks, you could get a thunderstorm up in Washington, D.C. today. It just tells you, you're kind of on the warmer side. The Carolinas could get some rumbles of thunder today. I think I heard a rumble of thunder here in my neck of the woods here in South Carolina. But, the flooding risk today, not very high just because the system's moving in and moving out pretty quick. But there's a marginal risk for flash flooding to occur in this green area. Not a big threat there. That means there's a 5% risk of flash flood guidance within 25 miles in any given location. Taking a look at watches and warnings. This is what's going on right now. All the pink, that's winter storm warnings. The purple colors into here, that's winter weather advisory. So Boston, you now have a winter storm warning. Looks like New York City, I think you're right at the fringe of a winter weather advisory. D.C., Baltimore, no advisories at all. Hanging on to winter weather advisories across southern Ohio, northern Kentucky. I haven't taken a look at what's going on in that area in about 2 hours, so I'm not sure if it's puking wet snow or not. So I'm sure you guys will let me know. Winter weather advisories continue up here in northern sections of Minnesota. We had a similar situation in St. Louis that we had in Arkansas last night. heavy snow, few inches of snow, a very heavy wet snow fell in areas of St. Louis and surrounding regions. It was really cool to see the arc and the heavy snow falling in St. Louis. It really was. And but these winter storm watches, this is for what's to come into Monday into Tuesday. And remember, I showed you this in last night's video if you tuned in. They're already very confident this is happening. Winter storm watches up for Utah. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out west. Pink winter storm warnings. Purple, this is winter weather advisories. The teal color, winter storm watches. You know, this kind of tan color, wind advisories, high wind watches, high wind warnings. All kinds of stuff ongoing out there. Let's talk about the southeast first. So this system's moving in right now. But this will move in and out pretty quick. And the only thing I would say I'm concerned about is just this line of storms entering Florida today. But I don't think it'll be a huge deal. But as you can tell, some light icing in the mountains, the foothills of North Carolina. This heads on out. Icing will build up in the western sections of Virginia. We'll kind of zoom into this area a little bit more here in a second. Some heavy snow ongoing and, just the higher favored elevations of West Virginia, Western Virginia. Could you switch to some snow here in the northern sections of West Virginia? At the last second here in about the next several hours, it's possible. But look at this heavier rain, these oranges, these reds here in eastern North Carolina, some storms down here in central Florida. Could get some storms in the southern tip of Florida today. And then this heads on out. And then we have some back-end energy that flies through the mid-south, the Ohio Valley. A little cold air catching up to it. And, could get some rain snow showers wrapping in all the way into the mountains of the southern Alps. Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, eastern Kentucky could certainly, as we're waking up tomorrow morning, see some flurry action flying around, some light snow showers. Zooming into certain areas, this is a closer look at my folks here in the Carolinas, and we'll get rid of this ice. I mean, look how fast this system moves out. It's kind of, you're already beginning to see the tail end of it by the time you're getting to 1 to 2 o'clock this afternoon. But we could get some thunderstorms in eastern North Carolina today. I definitely think we could. Some really heavy rain. But by the time we get into this evening, folks, it's clearing out. It's clearing out. We got this back-end moisture funneling in with some snow in the higher elevations. I think the higher elevations of North Carolina and Tennessee could get, a little bit of light accumulations from this back-end energy. I really do think so. I do want to show you the ice for this too. Additional 1/10 of an inch of ice, 2/10 of an inch of ice. I think some of this has already fell. I think right up here is what you need to watch out for as we get later into this morning. It's probably already unfolding right now. We got some icing showing up in northern Virginia. Somebody could get 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice. Someone could squeeze in 1/4 inch of ice. And when we start to get to 1/4 inch, a lot of the trees begin to sag, issues with the power line. So please be mindful of this icing down here. And my folks here in Florida, look at this line of storms moving in. A lot of heavy rain into the Tampa Bay area, and then you got some lightning showing up, especially in the southern areas of this line. So if you live in, Sarasota, Northport, all the way to, to the Fort Myers region, this is going to cross the entire peninsula, heavy rain. But this is going to be, I haven't talked about Florida much just because, there's been so much stuff going on everywhere else. But I'm going to show my Floridian some love down here. Watch out for this line of storms moving in. I don't think this is going to be too crazy, but certainly be mindful of those storms. Starting it off, we're kind of starting it off in the past now. We're already at 8 a.m. I need to get a move on here. Here comes the winter weather moving in. Let me know if you start out as any kind of mix in D.C., Baltimore here in the next hour or two. But you're going to get some really heavy snow initially with these kind of the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, western Maryland. You're going to get some very heavy snow at the beginning of this. As we get to about midday, you could get a few inches of snow in Pittsburgh. It's snowing about midday. If you're confused about the time, this is Tropical Tidbits. A little bit different than some of the maps I've been showing you, but I think we can take a broader look at this now. But around 1 p.m., heavy snow beginning to overspread all of Pennsylvania. I think there's areas of Pennsylvania to get 1 to 2 inch per hour rates in this setup. Could end as a last burst of snow here in eastern Ohio. Maybe the northern panhandle of West Virginia could get some snow here, some heavy snow. We continue to keep this going. All rain in D.C., Baltimore. But you go up to maybe Harrisburg, burst of really heavy snow. Philadelphia, will you get a burst of snow this afternoon? I think it's possible. We keep the HRRR model going. And starts off as a pretty heavy burst of snow in the New York City area. Snowing like crazy in Scranton, northern New Jersey. Still snowing in State College. Snowing up in the southern tier, the Finger Lakes region. Buffalo, light to moderate snow. This is reaching all the way up to Syracuse, Albany, and then it really begins to go downhill for southern New England. But notice, you're all rain along Long Island. And just north of the city, it's puking heavy wet snow. I said this in last night's video. Whoever stays snow and is just north of the rain snow line, but stays snow the entire duration of the event, will jackpot with the most snow. Someone could get 12 to 18 inches of heavy wet snow with this. You keep this going, I think you struggle with mixing in Boston early on, heavy snow in Connecticut, Rhode Island, but then you eventually switch to some heavy snow. The HRRR model shows what we fear in Boston if you're a winter weather fan, and that's that we're going to deal with a lot of mixing. But the heavy snow is making it all the way to the Adirondacks, making it through Vermont, New Hampshire, northern Massachusetts, gets all the way up. Now it's trying to make it all the way up into Caribou. But we could have a decent little snow event for you guys as standards up in Maine across the eastern and southeast, down east areas of Maine. And then it starts snowing pretty good in Nova Scotia, and then this heads on out. This back end upper level low energy could switch everybody back to heavy snow if you have mixing issues in the middle of this storm for southern New England, as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, which, by the way, this is starting to get into tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. I should have reiterated that. Snowfall between now and the next 24 hours. Let's try to do this on the fly. I want to see what's going on. Let's pull out the radar out of Louisville, Kentucky. Let's see. What are we seeing? Looks like you're struggling and you're just getting mainly rain. So maybe the initial forecast was right. But, you get on up the road. Looks like you're getting some sleet, mixed rain and snow. Some snow reports up in Cincinnati. Louisville, you're all rain. Lexington, you're all rain. This could change in the next coming hours. You're getting freezing drizzle up in Columbus, north of Springfield, Ohio. Mixed ice and snow. We'll see what happens with this. And then look at all these, even between Baltimore and D.C., getting a rain-sleet mix, and you're starting to get a lot of freezing rain reports across Virginia. So get this back off your screen. Snowfall between now and Monday morning. So this does add in the back-end snow. But, you see this little bit of snow in Indiana, a couple inches of snow is possible. And let's make sure we got this right. Let's see. Yeah, this is kind of what could, happen probably over the next few hours, because it is snowing in certain areas out here in the Ohio Valley. But snowfall between now and Monday morning, I think here in the next few hours you can get a thumping of a couple inches of snow in eastern Ohio. National Weather Service agrees with that. Heavier snow in the higher elevations of West Virginia. They are not throwing you a bone in these lower elevations of western West Virginia. Eastern Kentucky, not much. But once you start to get into Pittsburgh, a good 2 to 3 inches of snow is possible in these regions. Let's move a little bit further east. This is a great graphic. I think you're going to get some heavy wet snow in central and northeast, like the Poconos, the Catskills. Heavy wet snow in these areas. A good thumping of snow. Freeze it if you need to. Kind of find where your area is. But, someone's going to get a good 6 to 9 inch snowfall in western Maryland. But I zoomed into a couple of these areas, and I know this is kind of blurry on the screen, but this is the best the National Weather Service can offer here. The official forecast from 6 a.m. this morning going for around 2.5 inches of snow in Pittsburgh. And there's some areas, Indiana, Pennsylvania going for about 5 inches of snow. Clarion, if y'all pronounce it that way, 4.3. They get very exact in this, which is kind of odd. Davis, West Virginia, 5 inches of snow. And there's a new graphic here. Let's try to pull it up. I'm going to do something on the fly here. Bear with me. We're going to jump on my Twitter. I actually retweeted this because I knew this was coming. I retweeted this for a reason for my folks. Here it is. Graphic out of State College. And let's just look at the good stuff here. Here it is. New graphic. They have bumped up the snowfall totals. State College, 6 to 8 inches. Williamsport, 8 to 12 inches. Harrisburg just going for 2 to 3 inches. Looks like they've decreased that because of mixing issues. Gettysburg, 4 to 6 inches of snow. 4 to 6 inches. And Scranton could be more than that. We'll watch. A great kind of timeline for the Baltimore, Washington area. It doesn't really show forecasts, but it kind of shows the timeline of this in a couple bigger cities. Like it says, it does show maybe a little bit of sleet, freezing rain starting off this morning in D.C., but this is a cool little timeline graphic. Freeze it if you need to here. Let's move a little bit further up. Baltimore is going to struggle. Let's look at the latest one. Let's see if there's a new, yeah, there is, but there's no changes with it. So this is through Monday afternoon. Actually, let's go to Tuesday morning. Look how much they bumped up the snow for northern Connecticut and most of Massachusetts. They're going for 1.5 foot snowfall totals. So, I remember seeing some comments saying, Mitch, this is a normal winter storm. When you start to get about 1.5 foot of snow, I wouldn't consider this, for some people, I know. But, when you get 1.5 foot of snow, that's becoming a bigger snowstorm, even for you folks standards in southern New England. But, northern Delaware, 8 to 12 inches of snow. But I'm telling you, the immediate city region of Boston, Southeast Mass, going to struggle. They are, but could be totally wrong. Boston, give your folks, your local Mets in the Boston area, a break. This is going to be a tough forecast around the immediate city area. You work yourself about an hour or two west of the city, even just the western metro region, you're getting in this foot snowfall totals. But this is turning and trending into a big snow now. If you bump the forecast totals up for these areas, I haven't, but just the National Weather Service has, and I agree with some of the model guidance. But Albany, a good 8 to 12 inch snowfall from this. Let's zoom into some graphics, and this is very small, and I like the graphic, but it's hard to show it on the screen. But if you really put on your bifocals here and you look right here, what is that? Western Lou, 12 to 18 inches. Albany back up to 8 to 12 inches from dropping it in last night's video. Manchester, 8 to 12 inches of snow. And there's an area now that has like 18 to 24 inches of snow. So they're thinking somebody might get 2 feet of snow now from this. And they always hook us up in the Boston area. 4 to 6 inches of snow in Boston they're going for. But you go over to the Worcester area, Worcester. I know it's not pronounced Worcester. I know definitely it's not. But 8 to 12 inches, Fitchburg, 8 to 12 inches, Lawrence. Same general thing across the area. But look at these dropped off snow totals down here. Okay, and this is kind of an old graphic. It could have a new graphic up. I don't know. In fact, let's look. We're going to do some things on the fly in this video. A little bit different here. Let's see if we can get the National Weather Service out of Boston and see if they've changed this. They have not. Still up. And I want to actually go back to this and check this out. They've increased the severe weather threat for Texas, Tennessee, for Florida. So throwing that in there, even though nobody from Florida is going to see this because they're probably not watching this portion of the video. But anyways, going up to the National Weather Service in the Great Portland, Maine area, they got a great graphic. You can probably see it pretty well on your screen. Portland, 8 to 12 inches. Sanford, going for 12 to 18 inches of snow. Manchester, 8 to 12 to 18 inches of snow, guys. So it's turning into a pretty big event for you folks. So, yeah, let's move on to the South Central U.S. That's probably the last really big update on the winter storm this week. And of course, we'll kind of go over some information tonight, but it will be unfolding. So there's no point in getting that detailed again. It's always kind of weird when the storm's happening and you're still giving updates on it, unless you're going live. But the South Central U.S., little bit of winter weather in eastern New Mexico, western Texas this morning. That'll fade away. A little bit of just some energy flying through. Could get some snow showers in the Kansas City region tonight. A little bit of flurry action in central Missouri. And then, we'll watch kind of the Ohio Valley, Midwest area for some action. And then here comes our beginning stages of our next storm. Cranking up. But most of the day and night for today, the next 24 hours, is pretty quiet. We'll speak on this here in a different segment of the video. Up here in the north central U.S., a lot of light to moderate snow flying around in the upper Midwest, the UP, lower Michigan. Going to have just a very snowy day. I mean, it's not going to be a snowstorm, but just snow flying around Milwaukee, up in the Green Bay. And then as we get into tonight, some additional back-end energy follows through, and we're just going to have snow showers. Maybe some heavier bursts of snow throughout, southeast Iowa, maybe even Missouri. This is getting into the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning, just snow on and off flying through Illinois, Indiana, and through these regions. And then we get into tomorrow, and then just kind of a similar day, but not as much widespread snow across the upper Midwest. And there goes our snow erupting across areas of the northern plains and the Midwest. We'll talk about that here in a second. Snowfall between now and Sunday afternoon. For you, Stephen, up here, you're going to get a few inches of snow if you don't already have it already. Could be an area of snow that gets going here just outside of Chicago. You're still waiting for a decent snowfall in Chicago, even Milwaukee. A couple inches of snow just west and southwest of the city. And, northern portions of lower Michigan, a couple inches of snow. And then, someone could squeeze in half a foot of snow. It's already snowing up here. But someone's probably going to get, a good 6 to 8 inches of snow somewhere up in here, I'm betting. So. Western U.S., a lot of weather moving in right now. A lot of rain in the lower elevations, a lot of snow in the Cascades as this kind of energy drifts southeastward. Heavy snow this afternoon, this evening will begin to fall across areas of Sierra Nevada. The storm gets kind of broken up, though. Heavy snow kind of just out and about across Nevada, Idaho, western Montana. Keep this going. This just kind of rides to the southeast. Still dealing with some heavy snow in the higher elevations of Oregon. And then we start to get, and by the way, we're going to have some strong winds too with this. We're starting to get into tomorrow morning. Snow could be flying around Salt Lake City. Flagstaff. We're starting to get into tomorrow afternoon at this point, and then we're going to just have a kind of a moderate event across areas of the southern Rockies, snow flying around across Idaho, and we'll see what happens. And then Sunday night, another big system begins to enter the picture in the Pacific Northwest. Winds from this, very gusty winds. I mean, this is wind gusts between now and Monday morning. Blizzard conditions in the Sierra Nevada. Very strong winds across the kind of the western Rockies, southern Rockies, and anywhere from 25 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts in these areas. So very breezy conditions out west over the weekend into Monday morning. Snowfall, kind of a broad look at it. Feet of snow in the Cascades, a foot a little bit higher in the Sierra Nevada, and just across the Rockies, just scattered and smothered. Man, I'm hungry. Waffle House reference. 8 to 12 inch snowfall totals across the western U.S. Temperatures today, hanging on to that cold air damming here for the western Carolinas, North Georgia, 40s and 50s. 60s, basically where this low pressure pulls in warm, moist air. So South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina will kind of be weird states as far as temperatures. I really do think so. Florida will have a nice day, but we'll just be doing nice day as far as temperatures. But tough forecast across the Carolinas with the cold air damming. It's funny, you're getting a winter storm moving in across the Northeast, but a lot of these areas are, not very below average. You'll have a winter storm with above average temperatures, but above average temperatures in January is still cold enough for snow in a lot of areas. Not New York City and Boston, though, obviously. But a chilly day across the middle of the country. Very cold. I wouldn't say very cold, but pretty chilly for you guys' standards in the northern plains. And just kind of a normal day out west. It's kind of an area you need to tune into your local people. Microclimates, you guys know the deal out here. Moving into this system coming up. This is a powerful system. We've kind of began the graphic and just kind of the segment with this each time we've talked about the storm system next week. And this is our huge area of energy, huge trough drops out west. And with energy associated with it, this trough becomes neutrally tilted, which means it's digging vertically right into here, which means it's digging straight down. And, it starts off like that, which is positively tilted, gets that tilt into this, which means it's strengthening. And you take all this off your screen and keep this moving. And all right, come on. Here we go. And you keep this moving, and look how it takes on that negative tilt right here as we're getting into early to midway next week. That has not went away. Not at all. The models have honed in on this and really stuck to its guns. And this thing is flat out tilting negatively. And that means we have a powerful storm system sweeping across the eastern and central U.S. A lot of winds, a lot of dynamics, a lot of weather coming up, and this continues, and got a lot to figure out about this one. And then there's another one behind it, but let's talk about this first, folks. The lead time on this really demonstrates how confident they are with this storm system. Already winter storm watches up for all 10 counties in the northern sections of Texas, all the panhandle of Oklahoma. Winter storm watches scattered about in Kansas, 2 counties and a few counties in New Mexico and Colorado, eastern sections of Nebraska, winter storm watches up. This does include Omaha, Lincoln, and so they're pretty confident a winter storm is on the way. Let's talk about how this will unfold. We'll start off Sunday afternoon. See all this snow flying across the Rockies. We'll get this going. Same placement with this low, 998 millibar low Monday morning, beginning to develop here at the base of this trough. We'll have multiple lows kind of firing off this trough. Look at this heavy snow. The models are beginning to agree on this. Look at this heavy snow breaking out across the panhandle of Oklahoma, northwest Texas, heavy snow in southeast Colorado. Mostly rain for most of Oklahoma with this, except the panhandle. Heavy snow across those same areas that they have a winter storm watch up for Kansas. Heavy snow moving into Nebraska. Mostly rain for Kansas City to St. Louis on this run. Getting into Monday nights, this is when things could get kind of weird because you could start off as a thumping of snow in kind of the northern Midwest region, northern Ohio Valley region. Snow in Chicago, all rain for St. Louis, but then as another low develops, could pivot a little bit. Got a 980 millibar low. This enhances the moisture across the Midwest region. This rain switches to heavy snow in St. Louis, all of Missouri. This could be a big one for Missouri and northern Illinois. And rain switches the snow back to snow in Chicago, and then it heads on out. What about the GFS? They pretty much agree with one another in the beginning of this storm. except it brings heavier snow further south into Kansas, I would say. And, it would show the Euro's still struggling for Kansas City. The GFS shows heavy snow into Kansas City. Heavy snow all the way up into Omaha, Lincoln, all the northern towns and Kansas, heavy snow. You continue to keep this going. Starts off as rain, maybe switches to snow in St. Louis. Chicago points south, Peoria, snow. Bloomington, Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana. Heavy snow waking up Tuesday morning. Very heavy snow across areas of Ohio, Indiana. Heavy snow up into Chicago. And then here comes that additional low, just like the Euro that gets going Tuesday. This throws in some heavy back-end moisture. And I mentioned this in the last couple of videos. It's almost like you got two segments of this huge system all together moving in. And this back-end moisture could be business, folks. Heavy snow flying around in Missouri. And then look at that enhancement of snow into northern and western Illinois. Heavy snow getting into Tuesday evening down into St. Louis. Chicago, heavy snow. And then this moves on out. Man. It's a big system. What about the snow signal? Well, the National Weather Service is starting to get in range. Not the whole event, just through Tuesday morning, already forecasting several inches of snow in these areas right here in the middle of the country. And they're already forecasting snow. Watch how it increases for northern Indiana. Look at the snowfall they're forecasting for Chicago. Once we get past this winter storm this weekend, I'll be able to zoom into these regions, get much more detail for you folks. Northern Missouri, southern Iowa, northern Illinois, eastern Nebraska. They're already forecasting 6 to 8 inches of snow here, right up here in northern Nebraska, southeast South Dakota, stripe of snow. Yeah, so it's on the way, folks. It is. And, you look at the European ensemble, I think it's doing great, kind of symbolizing this. This goes out the entire duration of the storm, and just a stripe of 6 to as much as 12 inches of snow off the European ensemble. Around a 6 to 7 inch snowfall mean. And St. Louis, kind of the same thing in Kansas City, even higher in Chicago, Milwaukee, up to Green Bay. So it really likes this area right into here. Look at Indiana, Indianapolis. Could get your first significant snow from this. But we got to watch and see how this unfolds. What about the GFS ensemble with this? It's not a whole lot different. Did you see how it changed? I mean, it wasn't much. So signals kind of agree with this. What about the winds with this? The winds are going to be intense across the southern high plains. Look at these winds in eastern Colorado and northeast New Mexico, the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. We're talking about hurricane force wind gusts, 60 to 70 miles per hour. But I think this will be displaced, and this is wind gust swaths and miles per hour, so wind gusts. So, it's always going to go, the blend of all models is always going to go conservative too. But the highest winds are somewhat displaced from the heavy snow. But the heavy snow is going to be falling in these areas also. And when you've got 30 to 40, 45, maybe 50 mile per hour wind gusts with this snow, I mean, this is going to be a blizzard. I'm not going to be surprised at all you get blizzard warnings issued here in the next day or two, maybe the next 24 hours. Look at these strong winds. Even though you're all rain down here for most of Texas, a lot of strong wind action. And I mean, even getting, into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, scattered 30, 35, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. So this is big. What about the eastern U.S.? This will be with a severe weather, snow, rain, everything in the eastern U.S. Big, huge chunk of rain blasting through the deep south and mid-south. Could start out some ice in the southern Alps. Kind of the same reason. It's kind of the same areas that are seeing ice this morning. Look at all the snow in the northern sections of the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, initially off the Euro. Then it switches to rain. Kind of like the areas that are seeing snow initially Tuesday morning, Wednesday night and Tuesday morning, goes to all rain. Kind of hanging on to snow for dear life in these regions right in here. But eventually you guys switched to all rain too, and a wind-driven rain in that with severe weather chances to the south. And then, northern sections of Michigan, the UP of Michigan, certainly could get a big snowstorm from this. Could start as heavy snow in southern Ontario, but could eventually switch to rain. Hanging on to heavy snow in the interior northeast, but even those areas could switch to rain. And this is the interesting feature right here. This back-end energy could fly through. Cold air punches through behind the system. Rain tries to switch to snow in Kentucky and Tennessee. This will be an interesting feature we watch midway next week that could develop kind of in between everything else going on. What about the GFS? Latest GFS, same deal. All rain down here. It's a little bit more aggressive with this ice, kind of with the spine of the Alps. But big thumping of snow in the northern sections of the Ohio Valley Detroit, Cleveland, Indianapolis, a little bit of icing showing up, but even those folks switch to rain eventually. It switches to rain all the way into lower Michigan. All rain for most of the eastern U.S. except interior and northeast. But look at this back-end energy, this back-end moisture, probably in the form of a lot of scattered snow flurries and snow showers. Showing snow all the way into northern Alabama, kind of northern Georgia. This back-end moisture punches in. Well, we got to watch this, especially, listen, especially if another secondary low develops right in here. If that happens, this enhances moisture back here. That will be an interesting feature to watch in between all of this that's going on. We're getting into Wednesday morning, and there it is. It kind of shows it. See this kind of darker colors of blue? Wednesday morning across the Mid-South, lower Ohio Valley, you could get a punch of light accumulating snow with this. And it shows that low right in here. This is something we watch in between everything else to watch. So the snow signal from this, we have to look at this in 24-hour kind of segments. And there's your signal right here. There it is moving in. Well, there it is. I almost got it mixed up. You see that? Oh, I did that in yesterday morning's video. There's the signal for snow pretty high across the Midwest. I think this will be a Midwest hitter. And then you got that signal across the Great Lakes region and then the interior Northeast. And then it moves out. So that's your signal for snow. I don't think this will be much. And, you look at the GFS ensemble with this. And I might have already had it pulled up. And there it is. There's the signal on that. And there's that little bit of a signal across the mid-south southern sections of the Ohio Valley. What about rain? This is the precipitation, I would say. It could fall from this first system. But look at this second system. Man, look at all that rain. And a lot of this in the eastern U.S. is just good old-fashioned rain. Up here could be a lot of snow. But you mean widespread 3 to 5 inch rainfall totals on the way. And we're going to have a flooding risk also in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast with this. What about winds? This is the winds from our system moving in now. Could have some high winds in the higher elevations of Tennessee and North Carolina throughout the weekend behind this system. Here comes the winds with the next system, folks. Look at that. Look at these winds coming out the Gulf of Mexico, the Panhandle of Florida. Look at these winds in Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina. Scattered 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts with this. I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel schools across the Southeast. Don't hold me to it. Just because of the winds with the buses and things like that. I mean, even up the spine of the eastern seaboard. Look at the mid-Atlantic to Delmarva, scattered 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Dangerous conditions, guys. Mixed in with a lot of rain, saturated soils, melting of snow that you'll get from this weekend, severe weather down here. It's an issue. Talking about the severe weather, slight risk down here, spanning from pretty much Corpus Christi all the way over to Tallahassee. There's a slight risk up. We're at day 3 now, so we can show this. Kind of in a more color-coded way instead of just a 15% risk. You got a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. We'll see if this increases to an enhanced risk in some later updates. And then we're still at day 4, which is Tuesday. What I just showed you is Monday. This is next Tuesday. Got that 15% risk of severe weather up. Basically all the way from the northern Outer Banks, all the way down to like Fort Myers, all the way over to just west of Tallahassee, Macon, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, Fayetteville. Yeah, Jacksonville. So, Tampa Bay, Orlando, 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles of a given location. It's all driven off this. And before I say that, we can take a look at the Euro. I pulled up so many tabs, I forget what tab's next. This is what the Euro kind of shows it. And I like pivotal weather, not pivotal weather. I like pivotal weather because it kind of shows the best way it can on a global model how this could look. And, we're getting into, this is what it could look like Monday evening. A lot of storm activity. Across areas of Louisiana, Mississippi. And then we're starting to get into Tuesday, which I'll be honest is the bigger worry day for me for now. This really evolves into a nasty line of storms. But that does not mean as we get closer to these short-range model guys that we're not going to get some supercells out ahead of this. Main line of storms, I think no doubt will be there. But what are we going to have out ahead of this? Are we going to have a cleared out warm sector? If we do, this could be dangerous. I think we could have a very bad squall line that moves across the southeast. I do. And then it moves out. And look at the back end snow behind it on the European. Very dynamic storm system. And the reason I'm worried, first off, we'll look at thermodynamics, dew points. When you start to get dew points in the 60, folks, and in January, that's not good. And the latest Euro pulls some of this pool of dew points above 60 a little bit further north, almost all the way to Meridian, gets very close to Birmingham and the entire state of Florida is in the 60s, and then look as it gets pulled northward. And this is getting into Tuesday afternoon, prime heating of the day, dew points surging into the 60s. I'm concerned about Georgia and here in South Carolina Tuesday because of the timing of this. Now, this could tweak some. The timing of this looks like the daytime. So there is going to be some things we need to watch out for in these regions. And you mix that with the low-level jet, which I really haven't showed yet. But look at this low-level jet over this region. It is screaming. All right. I mean, this is low levels of the atmosphere. This is a mile above our heads only. You got a 60, 70, 75 knot low-level jet. And then it even tries to increase even more over sections of Georgia and South Carolina. You got an 80 to 90 knot low-level jet, highly kinematic atmosphere. When you got winds going at about 100 miles per hour, which is what this is showing just about, a mile above our heads, you can bet you're going to get some of this mix into the surface. Not in the form of 100 mile per hour winds, but 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This is just a crazy low-level jet going over the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida. Unreal. So, you know, you look at a broad look at this and just the wind environment from this in general, folks, and, you know, getting into Tuesday afternoon. And I'm not trying to ignore Monday. We'll zoom into Monday a little bit more, but there's going to be a severe weather threat Monday too. But I really think the worst of it comes into Tuesday. And then this is winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but you got this mid-level jet screaming across the southeast to eastern U.S. It's just going to bring a lot of winds, guys. A lot of winds. There's another storm system behind this. We're not going to get as detailed on this as we just did on the last two systems because we still got to fine-tune what's going to happen. We can still have a lot of flipping around the models. But what I can say is we get into late next week, and this is already entering the picture. It's only 5 to 6 days away. And you notice the winter weather is a little bit further south this time. Latest Euro shows a major winter storm across areas of Oklahoma. Kansas again. This would be an all-out blizzard across Kansas if this was to unfold. Icing across southern Missouri. You notice it's further south this time. And then it does eventually cut, brings another winter storm to St. Louis, Kansas City, and then sections of like Chicago, Illinois, the Great Lakes region. Moves out. Kind of a quick-hitting storm, but a very potent storm. And with this low right here, you could have severe weather again for the Deep South. What about the GFS for the middle of the country? Here it comes. It's a little bit further north, but still a very significant storm system late next week. This is our third system, guys. And look at this thing. Blasting the Midwest again with a cold air punch behind it. All right. What about that same storm signal for the eastern U.S.? And here it is. Similar look. Just sloppy rain. We're just getting the sloppy seconds if you're in the eastern U.S. with this. And it's because you get a punch of cold air behind it. It helps to dip this trough. And we're missing a lot, but eventually the cold air will move in and then the low pressure track will shift to the southeast. I really do think so. But this is mainly a cutter, so it just brings a lot of snow for the Great Lakes again. Okay, and then we watch behind it. And same thing with the GFS, folks. It's not much different. This cuts across the country and just brings a lot of rain across the eastern U.S. It looks like the same system that you get a few days later. It really does. And, you know, the thing is, folks, is if you look at this signal behind this, it's there. This is the third signal. You call it the second system because they're in the middle of the country. But that is a high-level signal for another winter storm across the Midwest and the Great Lakes region right behind it. High-level signal, folks. It really is. And, guys, all I can tell you is there's a lot of energy behind this. I mean, this is our next system. Here it is, moving in. This is our system we just kind of talked about. And this takes on a negative tilt too, which means it's going to be very strong. And there's just a lot of energy flying in around this. So one thing I will show you to kind of wrap this up is if you look at the latest GFS model, there goes our winter storm this weekend. There goes our big-time storm early to mid-next week. There goes our big storm late next week to the weekend. Here comes our Arctic plunge coming down. And then watch how there's another signal for another storm. And I think there's a legit signal about 7 to 10 days out, too. Look how far south this is. Tennessee getting snow. Virginia getting snow. And then you look after that, what happens after that? We're not sure. But the cold air continues to ease down. If you look at the last frames into the third week of January, here's a winter storm developing across the Deep South. That's 15 days out, very far out. So very active times coming, and we know this Arctic air is coming too, folks. And, here it comes. Folks, this is the European Ensemble diving Arctic air mass. This is 1 week out. This is temperatures, folks. Look at the Barney colors. 20 to 30 degrees below average in the middle of January. The coldest time of the year. This is you folks are going to get thrown to the freezer in the northern plains and the central areas of the country. How much does this moderate and move east? We don't need a lot of cold air in the eastern U.S. to see snow for a lot of folks. We need a lot of cold air, but we don't need a lot of well below average temperatures. But, man, there's a solid signal for a cold air mass just basically taking over the entire lower 48 by the time we get to 10 to 12 days out. And it continues. The signal shows up through 15 days. So I think Gloria is coming for us in the eastern U.S. We're just going to have to miss a lot at first. That's all I got. Stay tuned for more. God bless all y'all and have a great Saturday.